Hi, and welcome to the next episode of ID Cyber Sessions. I'm Alice, and this is Steve, and we both work at ID Cyber.
Today, we are joined by Sam Humphries, Senior Director for International Marketing and Security Strategy at Exabeam. Easy for you to say. So, based on that job title, what is it you do?
That is a great question. A lot is what I do. I do everything from buying swag, which I reckon we'll talk about, and working on events, demand gen campaigns, PR, messaging, thought leadership stuff, working with the security strategy team, mentoring speakers. There's probably a load more, a lot. But it's good because I get bored really easily and there's no opportunity for that.
You'd have to.
So, yeah, and I travel a lot. So it makes me appreciate my house more when I'm in it.
Because you're not there that often.
It's nice to go and see it every now and then. See where my stuff is and my family in my house with my things, yes.
And you've worked in security for more years than I will mention. And you've had a lot of different experiences, lots of different viewpoints on things. And I know, so one of Exabeam's core offerings is their SIEM solution,
Yes.
which integrates various SOAR solutions as well. And I just wondered, given all your experiences and knowledge that you've built over time, how do you see the role of AI in SIEM and SOAR? Particularly, do you think elements like SOC analysts, for example, will end up being replaced by AI?
If you've seen the movie WALL-E, we're all going to be on these big flying chairs and gigantic with like milkshakes. We're going to be just like trundling around all the time. It's going to be great. I can't wait. No, I don't think that's going to be the case, fortunately. It's been a journey. I mean, I thought about this on the way here today. My silver jubilee is coming up in cybersecurity. Wow. So we're going to call that the silly jubes, I feel. And it's changed a lot. I mean, I started in the world of like endpoint security when people weren't really sure if they needed antivirus. In fact, they would argue about it with us as to whether or not it was actually worth it and did we write the viruses, and we were like, no, if we did, they'd be better. That's not the case. And here we are, and everyone's kind of scrambling now, especially marketing teams, over this new panacea that is AI. Yep. And it's funny, I did a panel about this about a year and a half ago, where we just called it AI all the way through in the style of Ali G, and mocked it quite hard, to be honest. And now here we are, and like literally everyone's talking about it, and it's so much broader than security.
Yeah.
But I've been an AI skeptic for quite a while, in that it's kind of, in my head, it's either all AI or it's not. Like, computers aren't humans. Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, they're built by humans, programmed by humans, used by humans, but they are by nature artificial right now. So you can look at it from that perspective. Are there new cool things coming through where they can go smarter, faster, better than us? Yes. Are there terrifying things where they can go faster, maybe not better, not necessarily smarter, because we've still programmed the things? It's a bit of a mess right now, I think. There's a lot going on. I think I'm hearing people come into boardrooms saying like, we need AI. Why? What are you trying to do?
Based on the latest article that says AI is the new thing, basically.
Right. Yeah. There's some super cool things. Like, there's medical uses right now that are awesome, where I think I was reading a thing about liver cancer, and there's been some kidney stuff as well, where they're just able to pinpoint stuff better when people going in for ablation to have cancer removed. They're using machine learning ultimately to be able to figure out like just how to do that better, faster, with less risk for the patient and more accuracy. Brilliant. Helicopters coming in to get serviced based on, again, running machine learning, looking at what's likely to need doing when they come in for a service. They can tell by the type of helicopter, the age, yada yada, what's most likely going to be wrong with it, so they can get to that diagnosis part quicker. Stuff like that I think is amazing. Automation as a much wider thing for going better, smarter, faster. Exabeam have embraced that for a very long time. I mean, we've been using machine learning since day one, and we're, I think, nearly 10 years old now, about that. And I was involved in machine learning projects before I was at Exabeam, when I was over at McAfee, where I remember going into the office. I was in India, and the guy who ran labs brought me in saying, okay, come here, come see this, it's really cool. And started to show me like the statistical anomaly detection and groupings and ROC curves, and it all got very cool. And I was like, this is awesome. It's like, we can do so much more with this. Rather than having humans pulling something apart and going, yeah, it's got that wrapper on it, and I think it's doing this, and it's evading that technique, no, and here's an MD5 signature to detect it, which is very old school. So where we're at now, I think it still boils down to decision support from where I'm sitting. I don't think we're going to get rid of every single SOC analyst in the world. Mm-hmm. I think where we've struggled for a long time in security operations has been this almost insanity of keep throwing humans at problems when they're computer problems. There's so much that can be done by automation or machine learning or another type of AI to provide decision support to people so that they've got the right information at their fingertips. And that I think is where it's going now. I really don't see us losing scores and scores of people. If you believe in the skills shortage, which I think is getting blown apart as a theory more and more these days, there's definitely gaps, I think. It is harder for people to come in, especially in junior roles, knowing everything. You've got to learn the business, you've got to learn the risk, you've got to learn all that kind of stuff. And the tooling. Tooling's got to be easier to use. And if AI is helping with that, great. And more of, kind of the chatbot style, putting information at your fingertips, that's good. Machine learning is helping people focus on the right things faster. You don't have to be a pick a SIM vendor of choice ninja to be able to come in and start actually getting value out of the log data. And that's the stuff that excites me, I think, is just making people go home at the end of the day feeling like they've done a good job and they've solved some problems because the tooling's working for them. That was a very long answer, wasn't it? It's such a soapbox.
But at the same time, you're talking about where it is just now. So where do you see SOAR and SIEM? Where's it going to? What's the future going to look like, do you think?
I've got a horrible slide on Frontier AI, which has got the Frontier on it. Star Wars, Star Trek, God shoot me. All this. So where is it going? It's so hard to say. I mean, if you look at, again, moving outside of cybersecurity, if you look at what like Neom are doing, for instance, in Saudi, that company that are building like smart cities and I think they're building a ski slope in the desert with real snow, which just shows if you've got enough money and you think oil's getting less popular, you can do anything you like. But I think I see it making more things work for us. I think that's good. I think when I first looked at what Neom were doing with their Line City, and it said like 99% or 90%, I think, of your data will work for you, my initial reaction as a security person is, what do you mean? That's brilliant, right? So you're going to get all my data and do this cool stuff with it. Right, that's fine. And you're going to protect it? Yeah, of course you are. Yeah. Everything is absolutely 100% secure in every situation for every company. We know that. Of
course.
Right? Yeah.
That's the way life is.
It's not. Okay, it's just not. So, but there's a balance. There's that usability balance with, okay, you're going to have my data. You go back to the minute you hit send on an email, whatever's in that email is gone. Right? The minute you put your data out there on a website, you've lost control of it at that point. And I think most companies absolutely care about the security of their customers. Really do, genuinely. Whether they put the right things in place to back up that idea it depends. But people are getting better at that. But it's a trade-off. Do we want usability? Do we want do we want everything to be manual and boring? So for SOC teams, I think the hardest bit is going to be how do you get experience when the computers are doing the work that you normally go and do that work to get experience. Dave McKenzie talked about this on a panel we did a little while ago. That's where the kind of gap is. Historically, we've put people on phishing queues and boring jobs, which is soul destroying. But when they're doing that, they're still learning. So I think, from a human aspect, that's going to shift rounds to training will change. Universities will always take longer to catch up, they just do. But it will be more kind of lab stuff, not necessarily on the job training, but we're going to have ways of getting people through labs, for instance, to be able to learn some of that stuff while the AI or the automation is taking care of a lot of this, what you'd maybe call grunt work, where people have historically cut the teeth. So, but let's see. I mean, maybe, yes, will the computers take over? Is Elon right? Will it kill us? I don't think it will. I remember early days of malware, quite a lot of it just sort of blew itself up. So I'm not worried yet. But it's changing, and that's the exciting thing about working security, right? That's why we do it, is that it changes all the time. So where can it go? For the adversaries, yes, they've got another tool. And they have got a much better life than defenders, because, and I'm not necessarily subscribed to they have to get it right once. They have to work hard in some cases if they really want to get into an organisation, but they are not held to, oh, we can't do that because the business, or we can't do that because that's a production system. Yeah, exactly. Their scope is completely different. So yes, it's going to make things easier, better, faster for them. Look at deepfakes, right? They're getting much better already. Maybe I'm a deepfake. Maybe we're all deepfakes. Who
Go back to
knows?
Matrix again.
Oh dear.
Something else that you are very well known for is your community involvement. Not only are you at events all the time because Exabeam is actually a sponsor, but you're also heavily involved in organisation for a lot of events, or you're just there volunteering. So I'm thinking like B-Sides Newcastle, B-Sides Leeds, B-Sides Lancashire, DEF CON. You're everywhere. How many miles do you do a year?
Not that I hate my family and my stuff. I really like them. How many miles do I do a year? I don't know. BA's got this thing on their website where it shows you kind of how it's a little bit American style of like, this is 3 elephants, when it could just be another measurement, right? How many Kevs does it take? But apparently I've flown to the moon already, so sorry, Greta Thunberg. But yeah, a lot, and it changes all the time. So I mean, this year is already fairly booked out. So I mean, Vegas is kind of the centre of everything. Like Hacker Summer Camp is my favourite. But B-Sides and other community events over here, you know, the UK is not particularly big, so getting around's all right. And I love it. It's so important. You know, security is tough. It's a tough industry to work in. You do get good moments of, you know, you've completed something, you feel good about your job, you feel like you're really getting somewhere, and other days you don't. Other days you really just, it's a slog. So the benefit of getting people together to learn and support each other and network and help bring in more people into the fray, because we're definitely, you know, we're very much in need of, I think, it's such a variation of skills. And like, you know, AI being one side of things and all the, you know, kind of cool tech stuff, creativity and being able to bring in different viewpoints and getting people to cross training and being a welcoming environment where we can support each other on the dark days and celebrate each other on the good days is just, it's just huge. I love it.
So you take your child to some security events that are child friendly.
Yeah.
So that's different to other industries, because a lot of them don't generally have that sort of availability. So what do you think that's different about security? Do you feel that it's supporting the children or the parents?
Yeah, a bit of both, I think. It's funny, on my first roles in technology, I was 6 years old. So it's a true story. My mum bought me a computer and she worked for a disc company where they copied floppy disks for corporates, for schools, for a bunch of places. And she would bring home games and say, play these and tell me when they break. And like, well, what was going on? So I was ultimately doing QA at 6 years old. She also had me going to trade shows though as well. So
wow.
I can remember being in Hammersmith, helping her sell double-sided, double-density 5¼ inch coloured verbatim discs. Very exciting. At quite a young age. And nobody really batted an eyelid. I mean, it was the 80s, so you could probably just put your cigarette out on your kid's head and no one cared, right? But but it definitely like spurred something in me. It didn't make me immediately go, I want to go work in tech. But it was I was immersed in it from quite a young age, really. And both my kids have kind of lived through my mad travel and what does mummy do? And I've done all sorts. I mean, whilst being away a lot now is hard. When I was in incident response, I was home quite a lot, but physically home, not mentally home at all. It was like a lot of calls, late nights, broken quite a lot of time. It's hard work. So, and they've grown up in that environment, but they've also seen the cool stuff. And Trinity was asking to come from quite a young age. She's my youngest. She's also the B-Sides Newcastle complaints desk.
I was going to mention that. It's like you gave her a role, like your mum gave you a role.
Well, she found it. So we went to May Contain Hackers, which is such a cool event in the Netherlands. And it's like camping, And there's loads of like little villages, and there's music, and there's just the loveliest, loveliest people, including a family area. And from about, I think it's from about 8, 9 years old, your kids can even volunteer to go like have a job, which is nice. He hasn't done that yet, but it's coming. And there's like a creche area. There's loads of stuff for the kids. Beautiful, beautiful campsite out in the countryside. It's gorgeous. And we walked past this guy who had like a makeshift sort of booth thing that he'd made. It looked like it was made out of scrap that he'd found. And it just said complaints desk, and he had complaints forms. I was just yelling at people. It was the funniest thing. Trinity was like, Mummy, I want to do that. Can I do that at B-Sides Newcastle? I was like, yes, you can. So that's what she does now. So she saw the role. She went out there and made it her own. And good luck complaining to a now nearly 9-year-old. The first time she did it, she just ended up with people streaming into the room carrying things for her. It's just like a McDonald's went past, and then donuts went past, and sweets went. I'm like, Charles just sat there blagging people. There's a career in red teaming right there, I feel.
There's an important skill right there.
And my eldest actually came with us on the InfoStep walk last year as well. So both kids have like been involved. My eldest used to actually be in the office when I was doing incident response as well, and we'd just be chatting with the researchers, looking at malware with people. It was, again, from quite a young age. So they've got really involved. And back to the community stuff. I think it's both. What you said. It's especially folks who've been around longer or people who've cross-trained into the industry. Like a lot of us have got kids. It's not a prerequisite for cybersecurity. Many of us are still kids, but I think it's becoming more and more recognised that you have to appreciate the fact that your employees have lives. Mm-hmm. And the same when it comes to events. I still think there's more work to do around making things inclusive for parents. And you have to, if you've got kids tracks running or you've got kids there, there's obviously a lot more paperwork and responsibility required from people to ensure that kids are safe, looked after, not on fire, all that kind of stuff. But I think the industry's very welcoming for stuff, and I've seen some great talks from kids as well.
Yeah,
really good. I mean, like there's the 11-year-old kid who presents. I think he's 12 now. He presented before me at Black Hat Middle East last year, which was just a nightmare. I did this amazing talk. It was so good, and then everybody just left. There's like this huddle of like following him around Black Hat. I'm stood there like, my talk's really funny, but. So whatever. And then I played Venga Boys across the entire of Black Hat Middle East because I didn't know how loud the volume was. John McAfee danced around in the background. That is what happened. That's what they get for putting an 11-year-old on before me.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yes, exactly.
But then it's good for the parents, but you see the kids getting a lot out of it as well. It's something that's really nice. So SteelCon has got a really good kids track for the entire event, and then you see things like InfoSec BattleBots, which just goes around the country, and the kids just love it. They get so much out of it.
They really do. BattleBots is a great example of like just giving them cool things to go do as well. It's not just like hang around here and listen to the talk and pretend people weren't swearing. In fact, Trin sat on the stage with me when I did my talk at May Contain Hackers because it had some swearing built into it, and she had a little Exabeam cowbell that I was like, I'll point at you when you have to like ring the cowbell. And she did a great job. She sat on the stage. She got a bigger round of applause than me. And that's what you need to do to make your talk successful, kids, is have a child with a cowbell. Everyone loves it. Yeah, SteelCon's a funny one. I've never been to SteelCon, and I hear it's brilliant. They keep putting it on the same weekend as the Formula One in Silverstone, apart from this year.
Oh, so this might be your first SteelCon.
Yeah, finally.
Oh, wow.
Break my duck, just before my silly tubes.
And coming back to it as well, we were kind of talking about kind of bringing kind of parents and things more into the industry. And I know something you've kind of spoken as well about is making sure there are opportunities for women in the industry. And you actually wrote, it was a fantastic blog that you wrote about female role models. And I was going to ask you about that, but actually something else you wrote in that blog post really stood out to me, which was where you said that if you're getting involved in the community, whether you're speaking or organising, you need to be prepared for the fact that people are watching and they might be analysing what you're doing and either taking something negative from that or something positive. Do you think that that kind of analysis, should that put people off? Or is that building a stronger community because people are going to be held accountable for what they say or do?
I think it's interesting that article went through a lot of editing, lots of different versions of it to get to where it got to. And I think the thing I wrote in the end was, I made up a word because marketing. With great role modelness comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
And it's true though. I feel very strongly that you can't choose to be a role model. Mm-hmm. People decide that for you.
Yes.
But if you are speaking, if you are public, if you are throwing up all over social media, whatever you're doing, eyes are on you. That's the design of the beast, right? And there are a small number of people, I think, who go out there and they are doing it for themselves. They really are. And they don't think about the impact or the waves that they make. Mm-hmm. And that's the downside. And I've seen it happen where people, that's their kind of first taste of the industry. And they're like, oh, wow, is that how it is? And it's sad, but it's rare. It's so rare. But I think, if you're up there and you're saying stuff, you're coming on like a wonderful podcast with some great people. It's the nature of the beast. You have to be cognizant of that. Mm-hmm. So being accountable, absolutely. I mean, you see sometimes like people get pulled up of something they said on social media 15 years ago or whatever. Yeah. And a lot of us are dafter when we're younger. And some of us are still dafter when we're older. And it happens. But, it goes back to when you hit send on an email, right? Once you've put something out there, the internet rarely forgets.
So you are really public. Do you ever get worried or regret that?
Do you know what? I don't bring another version of me anywhere because I'm lazy or I just can't remember who I am. So like my Facebook is locked down, mm-hmm. but I don't run the like multiple lists of, you can only have this much access or whatever. If you're in, you get the whole kit and caboodle. So and if you don't like it, you can unfriend me. I've got different Twitter accounts, none of which are like sock puppet or weird accounts. Like I've literally got one that's my motor racing, like team thing with me and my friend. And then I've got my made up company, which is mentioned on my actual Twitter as well. And then I've got my Twitter and that's it. And it's, it mentions the fact I work for Exabeam. I've got the general disclaimer sort of that, it's, they don't put words in my mouth. And I think you've got to be authentic. Mm-hmm. And the people who are like, this is my work persona and I'm not, I'm just so different out of work. I'm like, I just haven't got the energy or the memory. Or I'd screw it up at some point. So, it's just, it is very much what you see is what you get.
It's a good way to be honest. And as you say, you've got to have a good memory if you've got multiple personalities.
This is why I might be a deep fake.
So there's well publicised that, don't know if people have seen there's a guest along with us today, but you have an affinity with John McAfee.
I do.
The late John McAfee.
That's a theory, I want him to be in Carbonite. Okay. I really want him to be in Carbonite.
So what is it about John?
What is it about John? I mean, look at him. So it's weird. So there's a couple of things here. Stay with me. Right. There are some things about John McAfee I like less. Like the political side of things, I don't think we're particularly aligned. But there we go. If it wasn't for John, I wouldn't be sat here. Not that he saved my life one day or anything weird like that. Like he's not my absolute saviour, John McAfee. I'm sorry, I've spanged the thing, haven't I? If it wasn't for John McAfee, I wouldn't be sat here. So there's that. Not in a life-saving way. But ultimately, I went to work for Network Associates, which at that point, McAfee as a company was already part of that. If he hadn't sat down one day and had this mad moment of writing a scan engine, would Network Associates have existed? Would I have got that job? Where would I have ended up if it wasn't for John? I've never met him though. And that's one of my 2 life regrets. Yes.
Now I have to ask what the other one is.
The other one is Rod Hull. And they're both the same thing in a weird way, in that I saw Rod Hull in the street. Rod Hull was a children's presenter, for benefit of the tape, in the 80s. I saw him in the street because he was doing pantomime at the town where I was working. And I didn't go and say hello because I was with some friends, and then he died. Not immediately. It wasn't just a visceral reaction. He's like, I'm done now. He fell off his roof. And it was really sad. He was fixing his TV aerial, and the Sun newspaper did this like double spread with the trajectory of like, it was a picture of a house and an emu up behind the chimney, and these bounce marks. I'm like, what on earth? But I didn't say hello to him in the street, and I carried that for a long time. And I was like, that is a good lesson to learn. Don't, if an opportunity presents itself, go and look at it at least.
Yeah.
Don't just kind of discount it for any reason. And there's something real in there somewhere. And I then did exactly the same thing with John McAfee. When he was on the run, sort of on the run, before the Lithuanian Faraday cage videos, which are some of my favourite, do watch those. He posted to say, I'm at this Indian restaurant in London tonight. If you want to come along, come. And I didn't. I was like, might get a bit shooty. Who knows? Don't know how I feel about that. I didn't go. And now he is allegedly dead, probably dead. I don't know. I want him to be in carbonite. We're going to bring him back. Right? Any person who should have been cryogenically frozen / carbonite, I think he's a good candidate for it. And I have I've still got another one now. I had a blanket that was this, that kind of went everywhere. He's been to a lot of B-sides. He got lost in the great DEF CON security scare last summer. He was at Blanket Fort Con. He never came back from it. I do hope he's somewhere in someone's bag for Blanket Fort Con and he'll get resurrected. I did buy a new John McAfee blanket, but it's on my bed. It's too big to travel anywhere, so now I've got the flannel. He's now travel size John, and he's doing well. So there we go. So yeah, it is a bit weird. I'm a bit weird. I'm fine with that. But he's fascinating at the same time. Like, what a life, really. If you go back and look at all the crazy things that guy's done, some of which are amazing. I think some of which are maybe not even true. Who knows? But just, I like people who kind of embrace the moment and really haven't held back. He would have said hello to Rod Hull in the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there we go.
So in many ways, he's basically a role model.
Yes.
In many ways,
In a very...
Yeah. In terms of seizing opportunities.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
There we go.
most of things.
That's an answer to all of it.
You mentioned earlier that I was probably going to ask about swag, and I'm absolutely doing that now. Exabeam is renowned for having some of the weirdest but most useful swag ever created. I think every room in my house is something Exabeam branded. I have frisbees, I have an oven glove, I have a beach towel, I have sunscreen. Have you actually got
Chapstick.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's incredible. And every conference that I go to and Exabeam is sponsoring, I always just really look forward to seeing what you've brought along. But something I always find really interesting that I don't think I've ever heard you try and turn a conversation around to talk about what Exabeam actually sells.
Yeah.
It's always come and get the swag, say hi, and if you have questions, I'll answer them. But you never actually try and force
No.
information on someone. And the approach is obviously working. But why do you think it works?
It's funny, the swag stuff, I get so bored of rubbish swag. I remember walking around trade shows when I first moved into marketing, and for a long time I'd stopped picking up vendor swag. When I first started in cybersecurity, first time I went to InfoSec, I was like burdened with like these bagfuls of just rubbish. And a lot of it makes me really sad. And some of it's just naff. Some of it's cool. Like, I mean, if there's a lightsaber, I'm going to go and get it. I am. It's just there. I'm going to get one. I've got quite a few that go home. I'm a sucker for a good T-shirt. Really, I'm a sucker for a good T-shirt. We've got some great T-shirts. The resting breech face one I love that we do as well.
Yeah.
But some of the other stuff, like I look at swag, you hit the nail on the head. It's got to be useful. People take stuff home and they're like, why have I got this?
Yeah.
There's only so many notebooks you need. Maybe not. There's only so much. Okay. Some people. You are a notebook person.
Yes, I am.
That's fine. No, I think, water bottles.
Yeah.
We've created a whole new problem with water bottles, haven't we? It's it's a reusable one, and we've all got 74 reusable water bottles, and they're all going to wind up in landfill, and not all of them, but a good water bottle that lasts, especially if it's actually come from some sort of ethically sourced place, cool. But there's just a lot of tap kicking around, and you get home and you're like, I don't know why I've got this. It's sat in a drawer, it's going in the bin. What a waste of resource and money and effort. The kitchen stuff, because we had egg cups for a while as well, and there was an Exabeam link there if you really squinted. Like, you get an oven glove, you hang it up in your house, right? You put it in your house, put it in the guest toilet or something. Yeah, it's in my study. And you put it up in the kitchen. You need to get your oven gloves, they're out there. It says Exabeam on it. Towels are good.
Yeah.
I mean, your cats love a towel, right?
My kittens have claimed my Exabeam towel.
They're lightweight towels. You take your towel to the sunbed in the morning, you lay it out, ta-da, Exabeam. Right there. But I want people to use stuff and it not just be like, I don't know why you've done this, or it's like it's some really cheesy link. Like the t-shirts, I see people wear the t-shirts like out in the public.
Yeah.
Not just like at work or, going to a conference. Like I've just caught up with friends and they just might be wearing it, or I've been somewhere where the people have got a choice of a bajillion vendor t-shirts they'd be wearing, and there's plenty of Exabeam t-shirts wandering about. These were amazing. I can't take credit for this bit. Jess Chollerton, who I work with, came up with this, and then a guy called Luke, who I work with, also came up with the security engineer, which is very cool. SOC analyst is me. I'll take that. But they're cool. I mean, it's just something. Yes, there's a bit of pop culture stuff going on, but you don't see many pink t-shirts either in cyber. And there's a lot of black. We like wearing black as cyber people, I feel. But, more pink in the world is a good thing.
So going on from that, swag.
Yes.
Is there anything that you've produced that hasn't worked?
There's been stuff where I've had to think about where to use it.
Right.
So, like, for instance, we made some little piggy banks. We were talking about cost saving because, I mean, obviously, current times, like money is a huge driver around security and what not to get and what to get. And purchasing departments will get involved and say, like, yeah, I understand this has got all the bells and whistles. Do you actually need it for this crazy amount of money? So we were doing a bunch of work around, like, actually, our new platform is super efficient and is helping teams save money now. And the approach of not just shove all your logs into a SIEM and go, see what happens. And then all that compute power and storage and, money falls from the sky. But I wouldn't, for instance, take those piggy banks to Black Hat Middle East, for example. In fact, we had a big conversation about these t-shirts for Black Hat Middle East. It is the one event where I think if you just think about diversity from one very small lens of male-female, there are way more women attend Black Hat Middle East in Saudi Arabia than I've seen at any other Black Hat event, or really any other cybersecurity event that's just a generic one, not like a women in tech thing, anywhere in the world. It was almost 50-50 the first year.
Wow.
In Saudi Arabia, where I didn't go in 2012 when I worked on a breach that was happening there, but I didn't want to go out there because I'm like, no one's going to listen to me. I'm going to be sat in the corner saying stuff, and then a man will have to go and say my words for me because I just made some sort of incoherent noise. And now, I mean, Riyadh's incredible. It's so cool. But yeah, I mean, the mix there is good. I checked to see if the Barbie movie was released in Saudi Arabia before we decided whether or not to bring these t-shirts. And it was. And we only had a few and they went down super well because the big launch was B-Sides London last year. But we were there wearing pink t-shirts on our booth that talked about Barbie. I can have my tattoos out now, which is kind of nice as well. That was the first year I went, I was like really terrified of what if the tiniest bit of tattoo pokes out under my sleeve. And it's not been a problem. People have been really lovely. So nothing's not worked, but there's more thought goes into it than it maybe looks on the surface. I'm just like stick Exabeam on things. There's generally a reason, even if it's a squintable, maybe very, very tenuous link.
And you've had a really varied career, but you're now kind of, I'm going to use the word revered because certainly by me, for being a marketing and comms, I'm going to use another word, genius. I mean, I don't know what you think about that, but I don't know whether, is there anything else that you wish you'd turned your hand to? Like, do you regret being in marketing and comms?
No, not at all. I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up, and I'm 46 now. So there's that. I still don't know where I want this to end. I want to stay in cybersecurity. I know that much. Where there's two parts to my job, and there's kind of the speaking bit and the community side of things, and like genuinely helping people. I love all that, but I also love working in marketing with marketeers who are arguably way better marketeers than I am. But I can keep them honest on the cybersecurity side of it, because there's a lot of bad marketing in cyber. There really is.
Yeah.
There's some, like, I hate absolutes. And there's so much, like, we stop this and you'll never have a problem with this ever again. And like prevent hackers. Like, stop it, stop it. It's a kind of dispelling myths, keeping us honest on things, which in turn I think makes us more endearing to customers in that we're not just spewing rubbish at them.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that a lot. Where I want to end up, I don't know. There's part of me always wanted to work in Formula One. In fact, I've still got a Formula One job alert thing on LinkedIn. I've found out that they can't really afford me. And apart from a job that I really can't do because I'm not good enough to drive a Formula One car. Not that I get paid like 50 million to work at Exabeam, they're not that good. But I did look at like some kind of marketing, client-facing jobs, and could I go and do a technical role there? And those teams run on quite slim budgets for all their millions. So I just go to Formula One and look at it. And I've taken customers there. I mean, that's getting paid to be at Formula One, kind of, sort of, just about. Even though I'll be there anyway. But yeah, so I don't know. It's very watch the space. When I move companies, it's always technology is the thing that gets me first. Mm-hmm. You've got to like the people and believe in the mission. And I think that they're the first things. And yes, absolutely, the money's got to be right. The day-to-day job has to be right. There's nothing that I feel any level of regret over, other than John McAfee and Rod Hull. Because I don't like the feeling of regret. There's a couple of jobs I didn't get. Like I went for a job in Tier 3 support years ago, and the guy that got it was better than me at the job. I mean, he rocked up having memorised like code and reg keys and all manner of stuff. And the hiring manager was like, if I had 2 jobs, you would have got the other one, but you don't. And I was like, no, it's fine. Like, take Nick. He's great. But that's kind of, it's okay. Like, I don't know what path would have happened at that point. Is there a different universe? I did get a job in QA once, and then there was a headcount freeze, and I didn't do it. And I'm really glad I didn't do it. Because it was working for a friend of mine. It was still at McAfee, lovely guy. But like one of the worst jobs ever, where they just got kicked to bits on a daily basis. It was the update team that did the biggest software download in the world every day. And they were the last point before stuff went out. Oh, stuff went wrong from time to time.
Yeah, and they were it.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, people, it was a thankless job, and people would get fired for things that were really not their fault, and they were badly funded. This was a long time ago. Yeah, things went wrong. So I'm glad I didn't do that either. So those things I'm glad I didn't do. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
So we've talked about the job, so what about just in general life? Is there anything you would change or?
No, I mean, is there? I would love to live abroad, but I can't because my mother-in-law would come and get us and bring us back. she would just turn up. And my mum's kind of, she's getting old and she's nearby. So there's family reasons why we can't live abroad. Trini's at school, and maybe will we do that later in life? I don't know, we might. But I quite like living here. I mean, UK is not the best place in the world. It's not the worst. It's cool though, in that it's quite small and we can get around and do cool stuff, and the community's amazing. So I like that. I didn't go to university. I every now and then think, should I have done? I'm not going back. So, well, there's nothing to go back to. I didn't go. So I didn't finish my A-levels. Again, the thing I love with this industry is you're learning all the time. Mm-hmm. But I think something I've learned more recently is I've had an executive coach, which sounds very posh. But it's a mate of mine, this guy called Eric Reiners, who is he's the Don. He's so good. He was my CIO at Rapid7, and he's moved off and started this company now called Be Well. And he does this executive coaching, which has absolutely changed my life. And it's not like MBA speaky weirdness. It's about being organised. It's about feeling good about what you do. Mm-hmm. It's about kind of ensuring that you recover properly. You work really hard and you recover properly. There's a bit of athlete, sports science stuff to it. And a lot of neuroscience behind it as well. Mm-hmm. And what that's done is really helped me free up my time. So, there's the old, if you're doing everything, you're doing nothing. Yeah. So good at doing everything. Therefore, nothing. But, multitasking is a lie. It is. We can't really do it that well. So, I've got an Asana board where I run my life. And I actually run my life off it as well. There's 2. There's a work one and we've got one for home. You can break your tasks down really, really small. Because sometimes you go, okay, we've got to clean the house. I'm like, you might as well tell me to climb a mountain.
Yeah.
What does that mean? It doesn't. I'm not going to clean a house, right? So,
But wipe a kitchen counter, I can do
yes.
that.
So however small you have to get those tasks down, the better. So yeah, Eric's been a really good force in helping me better organise my work life and my life. And I've definitely got more time back rather than just sitting there kind of doing emails all night and never really putting work down. I'm actually getting more done in less time. And that is just,
That's
it's
the
just
goal.
wonderful.
Yeah.
I love
That's
it.
the goal.
Yeah. So more fun stuff.
We always kind of close off our interviews by asking if there's a book or a blog or a podcast that our guests would recommend. Doesn't have to be security related. It can be anything you like.
I'm going to go real quick because I've got 3 things and I wanted to tell a story if we've got time.
Of course.
There's a story. Podcast 42, Lazarus Heist, is brilliant with Jeff White. Jenny Radcliffe is just a goddess. She's the best. So Jenny's book, I love her audiobook. She's reading it.
Oh, wow.
It's so cool. Yeah, it's brilliant. I love that. The last book I actually picked up and read cover to cover was Ready Player One. I'm more of an audiobooks person now. But having Jenny read it to you. Actually, Jeff White reads his Lazarus Heist book as well. So it's just nice when the author's reading to you. It's a lovely thing. So they're both really good. I'm a massive Pratchett fan as well. Huge Pratchett fan.
I can picture you as a Pratchett fan.
Yeah,
actually,
I love it. He's created a world in my head. Well, in fact, one of my next tattoos coming up, going to be there, will be the death of rats. This week. So yes, I love Pratchett. Then I've got a story which is about a slug.
Please tell us the story about
Okay.
it.
Definitely some like wise words at the end. I was walking back from dropping Trini off at school, this was last year, and I had to go and grab the mic at the ICE event in London because we were sponsoring, and Eleanor, bless her, Eleanor Dalloway had said, can you say a few words at the beginning? Great event, she's so lovely. And I was like, to that point, I was literally just going to go up and like thank everyone for coming, just generic stuff. And I walked past this I think grandmother and grandchild, it was a little girl, and I heard the child say, not many people like slugs. And I was like, I mean, kids are brilliant, aren't they? And the lady looked down to her and she said, nobody likes slugs. And it really got me thinking. And I was like, we shut kids down really quickly. Like that could have been a much cooler conversation, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it's arguably sometimes it's worse for girls. I think when it's being told, well, that's a boy's thing, or you can't do that, or you have to act this way, or do this. And boys get the pressure the other way as well. I'm not saying it's just a girl thing, but we do tend to put, we start those stereotypes very early. And I was like, I would have said like, well, no, do you like birds? Because I'm sure she's pointed out, look at the little birdie in the tree. Birds eat slugs. Squirrels, slugs. Like, loads of things eat slugs. Badgers, brilliant, slugs. And the nicest thing about a slug, apart from the fact that they are clearly snails that lost the house in the divorce, they're not the prettiest thing in the world, right? But what they leave behind is beautiful.
Yeah.
And if we could all just be a bit more slug, because humans just leave carnage in our wake generally, right? Like rubbish and plastic and crap. We don't leave behind something as pretty as a slug does. So
Be more slug.
be more slug, I think is where I want to leave this. Thanks for
Sounds like
coming.
another t-shirt.
Yeah, it does. It really does. We need some little fluffy slugs. Oh God, no, I've got to stop now. My brain just went off in about 50 different directions. Anyway, slugs, thank you for being slugs and leaving pretty trails everywhere. It's sparkly. There we go.
So on that
Yes.
sluggy ending, thank you, Sam, for coming along today. It's been great to talk
Thank
to
you for having me.
If you want to know what we do at ID Cyber Solutions, you can get us on idcybersolutions.com. Also, we're on YouTube. So this is where you're watching us, so can you please subscribe, comment, like, do all the things for the algorithm, and we'll see you next time.